Everybody, let's call this meeting, this special commissioners court meeting to order. All rise for the invocation, please. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for all this rain that you've been bringing us. We ask we ask thanks for that, for the continued rain and support of our community. Lord, we ask for wisdom and strength as we go about this hearing today. In Jesus' name, amen.
Nation from the people.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
I'd also like to add just a little bit to your prayer, that if our constituents patience with us on our infrastructure.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can't get around to everybody right if that immediately. I'm trying.
My road is trashed and I need it fixed this morning.
That's the calls I've got every day.
Okay, good morning, everybody. This is this morning, I'm gonna keep it fairly easy going. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time holding everybody to the limits, but this is a public hearing to discuss whether the ESD number 2, proposed ESD number 2, should be put on the ballot for November of 26. Just a little history. There's a task force that was organized to review some public hearings about forming an ESD were held in Marathon and Alpine. A petition was filed to put it on the ballot. That petition met all the requirements, all the signatures, those were vetted, filed with the county clerk. The city, for those of you who know, the city had to also pass a resolution authorizing their willingness to participate in the election. They have done that. Thank you guys from the city council for showing up on that. And so we are down to having some thoughts from the public about this ESD, both pro and or con. And we're open to any ideas or suggestions you have. At the end of this meeting, we will take a vote to either put it on the ballot for November or not put it on the ballot for November. That's really the item before us today. And there's no other business beside that. So Reagan, since you took the trouble to do the paperwork, I'll let you go first. Just identify yourself if you don't mind.
Absolutely. I made a prepared little statement. I didn't know I was going to be the lucky number 1, but happy to do it. I'm Reagan Stone. I live here in Alpine, Texas. Good morning, commissioners. Good morning, Judge Hennington. Thank you for this audience here today, of course. I'd like to start publicly by thanking the committee or task force that brought these plans to your body and the community. Judge Hennington, of course, Mayor Catherine Eves. I saw some signature Mark Rose, your name on the paperwork. So just to name a few, I'm sure there are many more. We are all busy, so I believe best, unless you're called upon to put your butt so-called in the rink, one must trust the powers that be, the folks you voted for to serve you, so you don't have to be at every single meeting. Unfortunately, for me today, at least, a few folks started reaching out to me a couple of weeks ago and said, what's going on with this emergency services district? Just for the record, I'm speaking on it. I'd say I'm for it with some caveats. My understanding is the ESD in Northern Brewster County will be primarily supported by property tax collection, more than likely, or up to 10 cents on every $100 in property value. For the average home in Alpine, about $250K, about $250 per year. This will support around 6 full-time EMTs and paramedics, as well as vehicles, equipment, and admin. South County uses its sales tax, yet I recognize where the budget sits tight in this county and that we have no further room to expand our sales tax in the north side. This new tax, therefore, is a choice, but I believe it's required since we have not raised taxes responsibly. Some could be named, but that is well before our current judge, who is working hard to find a way to balance some of the lowest property taxes in the state with increased prices for basic services. I don't envy your work. Since it's known that we must pass this resolution, therefore, and support it on a November ballot listing, I'd like to lay out a few concerns I have for the new tax. My hope is that these concerns will be addressed through public education, selective board appointments, as well as practicing transparency and good stewardship, as I believe is done in South County right now. I believe strongly that the created board should always support a public entity, and it should run EMS publicly and other services needed. I think we all understand what hiring, turnover, marketing, making a profit for shareholders in New York and other BS that corporations spend on instead of serving us directly. This understanding would be imperative in my support of the measure before you today. 2, that we should ensure high quality pay and benefits to each employee of this new district. We must attract folks to Brewster, not beg them, and it should be expected to get high quality and high affordable health insurance for them and their families. 3, and you probably know this already, our fastest growing population is seniors. Nearly a quarter of the population in Alpine is over 65, and nearly half our population is over 50. A lot of these folks might have access to Medicare, and that seems like a real sweet deal for the county to ensure that the tax covers the upfront and readiness costs, and the insurers pay the services. But if you know me, I don't just look out for the majority. This body can move us forward with this plan, but each of you should make sure that no one's left behind. With this, I would welcome plans to help those without insurance, more than likely nearly a quarter of our population, myself included. $650 a month and a $10,000 deductible doesn't make math sense. With this, I would like to understand, or rather see, a plan of an income-driven repayment system, a system based on how much you make and how many are in your family, rather than just an upfront cost. It could be supplemented with an indigent fund, either publicly or privately assumed. In closing, this might be a good first step, but all of you know that there's a lot of work still ahead. I think something each of you should do also is advocate for your constituents in Austin and DC in expanding Medicaid, rather than, what the big, beautiful disaster bill did. It took a lot of people off, and we probably have more than a quarter folks without health insurance now in the county. If Texas accepted the federal dollars we'd already sent to DC and helped our citizens pay for health insurance, you'd have a third more full paying clients, people who can see a doctor not just when they're sick, and the overall burden of this whole new tax ordeal would be less on our property owners and renters. Thank you for your time, everybody.
Thank you, Ray. Okay, any other public comments this morning? We're going to kind of blend. I'm going to leave public comments and we'll go into the public hearing, which is sort of the same thing. I think this is a free form discussion within reason. So if there's anybody from the audience that'd like to make any more comments, we welcome those. I think to the extent commissioners all have questions or you want to reply, this isn't, if there's something you don't understand, we can certainly clarify. Mark?
Sure. My name is Mark Rose, live in Sierra Leona, member of the task force. Want to address a couple of the issues that Reagan brought up because I think they're not only important but fundamental to this conversation. Under the law, in creating an emergency services district, the people are creating a public subdivision, a public entity, equal in responsibilities to the county commissioners court or the city council. They're governed by the Open Meetings Act. They're governed by all of the transparency that is required by law. So it is an important organization and it must work in full transparency, from the plans it puts together to the way it operates. And that is in fact why we as citizens are coming forward and saying this is the way to handle. Of all the things that any government is charged to do, public safety has to be amongst the top in terms of its responsibilities. And this district, as proposed, would cover both EMS and fire. And as we've said in the numerous public hearings, but we will, if you call the election, we will certainly educate folks on. There is a significant challenge in having EMS in this county, North County, whether this election passes or not. And I cannot stress that enough. The new cost, because the subsidies have ended on all of the projections, will force you as a commissioner's court above your cap. It would force the city council above their cap, calling you to have an election regardless. And so in our mind, from the task force perspective, taking this out of the city budget, taking it out of the county budget, putting it into an independent entity like in South County is the long-term answer and can ensure that we can have EMS in this county in the foreseeable future. At all of the ways that Reagan had some really good points on how it has to be structured. That's the work of an emergency services district. And the last thing I will say when it comes to the indigent care part of this, and which is a challenge for everyone, I think we have learned from the task force perspective that hopefully we can work with the hospital district and some other entities to come up with a way to put a palatable plan in place for indigent care. But if there's no one to answer the 911 call, if there's no ambulance to run, it doesn't matter who can pay for it. It won't be there. Thank you.
You know, we have an opportunity, I'm very proud. Ruben was on the commissioner's court in 2004 when we passed the ESD #1 in Terlington. Prior to that, you know, we would have bake sales and we'd spend some money and we'd run out of money and then we'd have some bake sales. And it was a very convoluted way to run a very important part of our community. And after the implementation of the ESD, and unfortunately at the time we were able to use sales tax down there because the sales tax rate was lower. And so we allow our tourists to help pay for our EMS down there. That has turned out to be very successful. And I would stand up Terlingua as sort of the gold standard that we would like to see implemented up here. And I think there's some opportunity to make Brewster County, while there'll be independent operations, they operationally can operate together under similar medical control so that crews can move back and forth if they need to help each other out in times of distress. So I think this is an opportunity to repeat what we did in 2004. It is, I mean, I won't lie and say that raising taxes is a thrilling process for me. You know, I don't want to write the check any more than anybody else in the audience does, but I think in this particular case, it probably makes a lot of sense if we want to have a good EMS and fire. And I kudos to the fire right now. For those of you that have followed the fire department the last couple of years, and kudos to James and his team, the guys on his team have done a fabulous job of putting together a very professional volunteer fire department. And we plan on continuing that process. Any thoughts from the crowd? Anybody else want to yes or no or? Wow. I've never seen this group of people be so quiet before. Yes.
I'm Nick Simmons. I'm resident up in Sierra Leone. And I just quickly wanted to say I'm in favor of the mechanism of setting up the district, but I'm not in favor of the taxes that have been proposed for us because the appraisal district thinks our house gets more and more valuable. This will cost us about $600 a year. And our pensions and income have not gone up in the last 10 years at all. So where do we find the $600 from? Plus the fact that our county taxes are double what they were 10 years ago. And I don't see those going down any, even though the cost of the emergency services goes off your budget onto somewhere else. Commissioner Westerman told me at one point that you would just have less of a deficit. But so really, I'm just saying, I'm not sure where the money comes from. Some people, and there are people who are in worse situation than we are, I'm sure, that will have to, cut their food budget or their gas budget or whatever. We don't, any of us have that many budgets anymore. But that's really all I wanted to say.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank
My name's Dean Willis. I would like to point out one thing. I think I mentioned this in one of our earlier meetings over at the Civic Center. The process of setting up an emergency services district is essentially the way the state has guided us, right? It's the easy, long-term solution, so you guys don't have to worry about adjusting and setting taxes and being the bad guy that comes out and asks for more tax money. But I want to point out, we're setting up an automated process for taxing people, right? And taxes have consequences. If someone can't afford to pay their taxes, we're eventually going to be sending the sheriff's people out to take their house away from them, right? Now, before we set up an automated mechanism for taking away people's houses, we need to make sure that we're actually having good review of everything involved. Taxing people should be hard. Every year, you should be arguing with each over the budget and struggling to figure out where that next bake sale or other funding mechanism is coming from, right? It shouldn't be automated. It shouldn't be easy, because automated, easy taxation eventually crushes the entire economy and our reason for being here. Right? Thank you.
you. You need to come to my budget meeting.
I didn't say it was, easy.
Yes, ma'am.
I am. I'm Patty Roach, a resident of Alpine. Just wanted to point out a couple of things that I think the commissioners are aware of, but the public may not be aware of. One is we've experienced the state putting caps on county ability to tax. In the past years, they've tried to lower it even further. So y'all are kind of losing some of your ability to raise funds to do your current operations. I'm in favor of the ESD. It will, of course, tax me. But I look at it from being inside our county system and understanding the pressures that are coming on our funding sources from outside of us. To me, one of the great advantages of having an ESD is that tax money is earmarked for only that purpose. Once that tax is levied, that is all it can be spent on. So if we have that in a separate entity, we, the public, have a guarantee that that tax dollar is going to be spent on emergency services. And if we, the public, believe that is what we want, we are guaranteeing the spend of that money to the greatest extent. If the tax rate or the tax levy remains within the county and within the city, and those two entities are trying to fund EMS, including law enforcement, the pressures to reduce that funding become very great. So in my mind, I really prefer the ESD, because I know my tax dollar is guaranteed for that purpose and that purpose only.
Yeah, one of the issues that came up in our discussion was, could we just take this into the county, or could the city take it in? Problem is that this council or this commissioner's court before you is very pro EMS, but that may not always be the case 10 or 15 years ago. Budgets are from now when budgets are tight. And so county commissioners don't have the ability to restrict funding like we do with an ESD. So Patty's point's well taken. We could do the same thing within the county and say, okay, we're going to create this fund for EMS, but 10 years from now, the next commissioner's court could rescind that fund and put it back into the general budget. So I think from that perspective, the money's got to come either way. I think this is a good fenced in area way of doing it. So good points. Anything else? City council, mayor, anything? Well, the beauty of this is it is now, it would be in the hands of the voters. So it's not in the hands of the commissioner, so once we pass this order this morning, if we pass this order, then we'll let the voters in November decide. And I think that's the right way to do it. That's what the country's founded on, 250 years later.
Yeah, I have a question for Mark, I hope. How many are these districts in the state? And has any of them ever failed? Or shop or got it eaten up by something else?
Failed in terms of their operation?
Yes.
I'm not aware of any that have failed. I'm sure as in any level of government, there are some that are struggling, but I'm not aware of any. So I don't know. There's well over 300 ESD districts throughout Texas in a variety of arrangements. There are ESD that are solely fire. There are counties that have ESD for fire, but then have an overlay district for EMS. The legislature, in looking at the history of the legislature creating these districts, it's for everything that's been said today. It's so the citizens can go to one place and say, this is how my money for fire and EMS is being spent, whether it's sales tax or property tax, because the legislature has in fact put tremendous pressure on all governments in terms of what, as Patty mentioned, what can be raised. So it's not popular from a sense of power. It's popular from a sense of the only way to get it done. Like I mentioned earlier, we've had a subsidized EMS system that's now gone, so that we know our costs are going to be well over $1 million. So even a new SD with this tax base is going to be challenged to be extremely prudent to make all of this work. If it isn't created, you'll be challenged and the council will be challenged. So we're kind of there. And I'm answering it that way, Commissioner, because that's why these districts are created, for the situation that we're in now. And they are, I know several counties just in the last couple of years that have created them. Like I said, and there are some that some counties have as many as 20 of them per county, the larger counties. Again, so immediate residents can have control over their immediate service.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Well, I'm not aware of any failures. There may have been some mergers, but I'm not aware of any of them that failed.
The people I've talked to that live in these areas, they all for it. Well, of course, my friends are getting older, so they.
For sure. All right, anything else? Questions? Yes, sir.
My name is Vernon Tucker, and I live here in Alpine with my family. Sorry I was late to the party, but I have a little more skin in the game, if you will, because the last 15 years I've been in 911 EMS, and to make a living that is affordable for my family and our lifestyle here in Brewster County, I work in the oil field. So I have to commute over 2 hours, work a shift away from my family, away from my home, away from my friends. And I work several days in a row and then I come home. That leaves two things that I don't necessarily like, but have to live with. And that is, one, I'm away. And two is, when I'm away, my family doesn't have me here. So in an emergency, I need to rely on the paramedics here to take care of my family because some of them are older. So having a high quality EMS service is a priority for me. I also pay taxes, and I understand that it is going to be a significant hit. I know that has been a concern for a lot of folks here because home values have skyrocketed. And it's going to be a struggle on all ends. But at the end of the day, if you call 911 for an ambulance and you get, we have the system in place where sometimes you get a paramedic and sometimes you don't. Me personally, it is worth the investment, worth finding the room in the budget to pay that extra money to ensure that you have a quality staff, quality service with trucks that are reliable, because let's face it, vehicles not always as reliable as they're sold, marketed to be. And equipment is not cheap in the EMS field. Something that would cost a normal person $100 to an EMS service is $500, and so on and so on. So I'm really for the ESD, not only because I have skin in the game, because hopefully I could work here and I wouldn't have to commute 2 hours to make a livable wage, and not be away from my family, but we can homegrown our paramedics and EMTs, and these folks will be in our community. They'll be on our fire department. They'll be in our town. They'll be around at the post office. And if someone has an event, they become lay responders. They can then help the public. And when the more paramedics and EMTs we have in our community, the faster our response time is, because they're right there. Someone collapses in Lowe's Market, there's chances there's a paramedic somewhere not too far away. And then the ambulance is not too far away either. And if those people are trained well and they're held to a higher standard, then they will deliver. And I think it's going to benefit on more than just one front. You have to look at the big picture. And yes, it's going to be difficult to come up with the $400 or so it's going to cost us. But as a family, we've sat and discussed it. We found, you know what? Maybe we're going to drop Netflix. Maybe we're going to get rid of the Sirius XM radio, and we're going to find that budget. And so we're all for it. And we really hope that the community can understand that it's not just one facet, it's the entire pie. So thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
I'll make that.
All right, if there's no more comments, oh, okay, please.
My name is Jason Fry, I live in North Double Diamond, and pretty new resident, about 3 years almost. And when I think of my taxes, I think about all of my property taxes, and I'm one of those over 65 people. So, for example, my school property taxes, which is the largest portion of anybody's tax, is frozen for me because of that. And then I've just experienced, I'm speaking for myself here, I'm not an expert on property taxes, but the legislature has given pretty major relief on property taxes over the last couple of years in terms of exemptions for those kind of taxes. I realize that that doesn't apply to these sorts of taxes we're talking about here, but I think who knows what the legislature will do. Trying to predict what politicians are going to do is pretty fool's errand, I think, sometimes. But I think there's likely to be some more of that sort of dynamic going on the state level as well. But as we all know, and it's been said already, money has to come from somewhere. But given I'm with my age and stage of life and my some health issues, it's important to me to be able to know that if I could call 911, somebody would be out there to take care of me or my wife. And so I'm certainly in favor of this too, given the alternative, which I'm not even sure what that would be, other than just trying to roll it into the county budget, which has all these challenges that were just mentioned. So anyway, I think that is a caveat a little bit to raising property taxes for something like this, because the homestead exemption for everybody has been reduced or increased rather, and then for seniors even more over the past couple of years on the state level. So anyway,
Thank you. Anybody else? I'm gonna read the order out loud and then we can make a motion to. All right, so this will be an order calling an election to confirm the creation of Brewster County Emergency Services District Number 2 and authorize the imposition of a tax not to exceed the rate allowed by Section 48E, Article 3 of the Texas Constitution. Whereas the Brewster County Commissioners Court received a petition from petitioners seeking to create the proposed Brewster County Services District Number 2, and whereas petitioners seeking creation of the proposed ESD Number 2 provided written requests for inclusion in the district to the municipalities having overlapping limits and extraterritorial jurisdiction within the territory of the proposed ESD number 2. Whereas Brewster County provided notice of public hearing stating that the creation of a district is proposed, that the district is to be created and operate under Article 3, Section 48E of the Texas Constitution, as proposed by SJR number 27, Acts of the 70th Legislature, regular session 1987, and adopted by the voters at an election held November 3rd, 1987. The name of the proposed district, the district's boundaries as well are stated in the petition, the place, date, and time of the hearing, and then each person who has an interest in the creation of the district may attend the hearing in person or by attorney or present grounds for or against the creation of the district. And whereas a copy of the notice of a public hearing was posted to the courthouse not later than 21 days before this hearing, and a copy of the notice was published in a newspaper of general circulation in the county once a week for 2 consecutive weeks, the first publication occurring prior to 21 days before this hearing. And whereas copies of the notice, officers' return, and notices circulated in the newspaper of general circulation are attached to this order. Whereas a public hearing was conducted on June 30th, 2026 at 9:30, and persons who had an interest in the creation of the ESD number 2, including their attorneys, were invited to attend and present their grounds for or against the creation of the ESD number 2. Whereas after the public hearing, Commissioners Court considered the petition and each issue relating to the creation of ESD number 2, whereas the Brewster County Commissioners Court previously granted the petition by executing the resolution approving petition for petitioner seeking to create Brewster County Emergency Services District number 2. I would entertain a motion to accept this order.
Second.
Okay, motion and second, discussion by the Commissioner Court. I say let's roll and let's build a world-class EMS in North County. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. This will be on the ballot in November. Thank y'all.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Entertain, I got a motion to adjourn. I just love this. I'm gonna stay here for another hour. Now, all in favor to adjourn, say aye. Aye. This court is now adjourned.